r/AskReddit. Parents of Reddit, what are your kids currently attempting to hide from you? Not a parent but a kid. A few years ago in my mid/early teens, my aunt gave me and my mum a bunch of gardening tools. She was a big gardener and we needed to sort our garden out. One of the tools was this weird bladed hooked thing that was a little rusty that you used to get stuff out from between flagstones. I thought this looked cool and my mum immediately picked up on my reaction to it and said I was never to use it when she wasn't there. The next day she was out shopping and I was swinging the thing around in our garden and using the bladed edge to cut plants and harvesting them like they were ingredients. I wound up cutting about halfway through my finger to the point where I could see bone. I just stared at it for a few moments until blood started spewing everywhere. I went and told my dad, and cause I didn't want to worry anyone and not get told off, I said that I cut it by falling onto the edge of our patio. My dad bought this and bandages up my finger cause it wasn't all that bad once we washed it. He has experience with wounds. A few minutes later my mum gets home and my dad tells her what happened as she gets inside. She walks into the kitchen and looks at me. I get this sheepish look on my face and my mum just immediately says, "You were playing with that tool, weren't you?" I immediately just burst out laughing and she smiles but is clearly a bit pissed cause now we have to go check with the doctors if I'm okay, tetanus or whatever. Like I said, it was rusty. I just find it really funny how my dad believed me but my mum immediately knew what was up cause she knew me and my bullshit so well. The scar left on my finger is kind of a pleasant memory now and always helps me remember I should tell the truth, and it also served as a nice reminder of her as she passed away only a few years after that. Not a parent, but the little girl I'm babysitting is currently trying to hide the fact she makes her fair share of cookie runs when she isn't allowed to. She's 6 years old and her parents are usually at work until 5 o'clock, hence why I'm babysitting. Also, her mom had set up a thing on where she isn't allowed to have a cookie unless her homework's done. Mainly because she's a bit of a problem child who's very fussy about homework and her mom got tired of her teachers complaining about her homework being unfinished. So, what her parents did was, to motivate her to actually finish up her homework, they bought this donut-shaped cookie jar and would buy a big enough batch of Baker's Zoo cookies, her favorite, to last at least a month. That didn't stop her, since she found a way to get one before that by excusing herself to go to the restroom during our homework sessions, when in reality she's making her way to the kitchen to sneak out a treasure from the cookie jar. At first, I didn't notice until I noticed the amount in the jar has grown less than it usually is. That and she doesn't do this trick daily or frequently enough for me to pick up on it, since she'd know I'd catch on and get suspicious. It got to the point I'd count them before I start my session when she's gathering up her homework and count them again to find 2 or 3 of them missing at the end of the afternoon after she goes upstairs to pack her homework away. It couldn't be her parents. Her dad's a diabetic, so he wouldn't even touch the stuff unless he's refilling the jar, and her mom doesn't eat out of that jar since that jar is specifically kept for her as a reward system, and her mom usually snacks on stuff like biltong, the South African equivalent of beef jerky, than she does cookies, so I know it wouldn't be her. So yep, not exactly much of a secret. I know it's petty compared to the rest of the stuff on this subreddit, but it's still something. As of now, I've decided that next time I see her, I'm gonna put the cookie jar on a higher or different shelf until her homework's done to see if I can demotivate her enough to stop her little cookie raids so she can carry on with her work. This is a long explanation, so buckle up. Not the parent, the kid. I use salbutamol inhalers to cure my "struggle for breath" when I'm anxious. These inhalers are meant for people with asthma in need of urgent care in case of esophagus swelling, for a fact, or issues with the diaphragm, I suppose. I have been using them since grade 6, but my usage for them had only escalated exponentially as years went by. I'm now going to be a junior at school and I use mine multiple times a day. I don't have asthma. I don't even know what I have at this point. I think it just became my own coping mechanism for even the slightest worry, and it's not okay. My worries can vary from hating the way I look in the mirror, or clothing that doesn't fit me, or overeating and bloating, or my hair looking bad on whatever day. It's a conundrum. and most of the time my worries that cause shortness of breath are very irrational. What I mean is, they shouldn't be causing the breathing issues. But I'm breathing sort of okay. I'm never struggling to stay alive and catch a breath. I just feel a little, but a very uncomfortable tightness in my chest and some bloating. Like something doesn't allow me to take fuller, deeper breaths. Then and there I just feel the urgent need to use it. But for some reason I feel it's fake. That feeling I described, but my brain thinks it's real. It's very confusing. I have read many things about long-term effects of salbutamol inhalers and many of them contribute to weight gain, prolactin raise, infertility, etc. Nothing really lethal though. They are also known to contain small percentages of steroids. I'm sure it doesn't really do anything, since the amount is too small to accumulate anyways. My dad doesn't really know about this. It's my mom who is very concerned for me. My abuse of the inhaler has gotten to the point where it's become the reason I can't really lose weight. Now I'm a pretty tall girl, 5 minutes and 10 seconds to be exact, and as of now I'm a bit overweight for my height and age. I have been on diets and did workouts and nothing seems to work as efficiently as I would have liked it to. I end up in a vicious cycle. Another reason to use one of these inhalers is, due to fast intermittent breathing, the inside of the esophagus swells. It's because too much cold air enters at once. I used to think that's why I needed to use it all the time during PEP, but at this point I don't even know anymore. I'm vigorously trying to lose the very weight my saving, aka the inhaler causes. I don't know what to do. My anxiety is getting worse because my body is becoming bigger, but to stop being anxious I have to use the very thing that makes my body bigger. I know my brain is lying to me 90% of the time, but I don't know what to do. It makes me very sad that I have to hide this from my mom. She's very kind and caring and is the best mother I could ask for. She gets very upset and frustrated every time I have to use it, and I have to hide it so it doesn't make her anxious. I really want to go to therapy, but I'm afraid that I won't be able to keep up with high school if I do. If anyone here has dealt with this issue, please tell me what you did to resolve it. Have a good day. Kinda reverse, it's my mother who is trying to hide the fact that she hates my grandma, her mother, and tries to hide it from me and my brother, which ultimately failed. Basically my grandma moved in with us after granddad passed away, skin cancer. This was an issue, since my granddad helped my grandma with everything, since my grandma can barely walk and has issues with joints and movement, and she lives about a good hour or so away from where we live. So naturally she moved in with us. We have nurses come in to help her, and my mother also helps her too. A few signs started to show up to me and my mother. She often argued with my grandma, complained about her when she thought me and my brother weren't listening. She does it openly too, like in front of her friends and everything. She also once threw water at my grandma when she asked my mother if she was okay, since she looked like she was in a bad mood. Her exact words were "you look stroppy," and while I get that she shouldn't really use that phrase, a woman at the age of 89 does not deserve to have a glass of water thrown at her. My brother was told this by my grandma, and he was furious. He actually ended up asking my mother "WTF is wrong with you? Go apologize to her right now," which I actually thought was quite mature considering he was only 13. I did want to confront my mother, but she wouldn't let me. My grandma is also partially deaf, which communication frustrating for my mum. My mum just makes no effort in trying to make communication easier. It gets to the point where she only can hear my brother, me and my father, who occasionally says stuff about my grandma. While I love her a lot, I wish she'd stop calling my grandma names and complaining about her behind her back. I get that my grandma can be difficult, but it sucks a lot. And God knows what she's doing while me and my brother are at school. It's still an ongoing problem, and it makes me dread events such as Mother's Day, birthdays, because we open presents in my grandma's room, and behind gifts are often snide remarks, and even Christmas, which isn't a big deal for me, since my family are Jewish, but my grandmother is Christian, so we celebrate part of it for her, as well a bit of Easter. My son, 7, is hiding that he secretly loves Forest School, summer club. Each day I pick him up, He moans that they don't do many activities, that it's terrible, no one wants to play with him, and it isn't fun. The photos posted on their social media say otherwise, as well as the occasional slip-ups when telling us stories around the dining table. Edit. He is my son. I treat everything he tells me seriously, whether it is good or bad. As a person who was severely bullied as a child, I like to think that I try to assess every incident and situation regarding him better than my own parents did when I was young. But to clarify, he literally tells me every morning before we go that he wants to play Pokemon or Super Mario, that he doesn't want to get up at 7 AM, and that he has stuff to build on Minecraft. He didn't want to go because he genuinely wants to spend 6 weeks playing video games. Jesus, he is pissed that we aren't taking the Switch to Cornwall on holiday with us. However, he also wants to make friends, so I encourage him to go. I work closely with the club leader and teacher on how he finds each day. They continuously comment on how he really takes to group activities and shows great signs of leadership, etc. Guys, kids can be fucking stupid, they can be really stubborn and sometimes have a lot of pride. Believe it or not, some kids find it difficult to admit they were wrong about something because they really fucking love computer games. My 8-year-old daughter had a friend over for a slumber party. The girl that stayed over for the night was 8 years old as well. I heard the kid whisper to my daughter, "I know something fun we can watch on your iPad." So my daughter came downstairs and asked if she could take her iPad upstairs. I said sure. Later I saw that they were looking at fake taxi clips on YouTube. The following day when the kid left, I sat my kid down and had the talk about the birds and the bees. She said she didn't want to watch those kind of clips, but her friend had an older sister who showed it to her, so she wanted to show my daughter. I told her there is nothing wrong with watching those clips, but maybe it was a good idea to wait till you're a bit older. My daughter and her friend had a good laugh, but never looked at it again, thankfully. Now they are back to watching TikTok and other age appropriate stuff. I blocked the 18+ stuff now till she's a lot older. She wasn't really hiding this, tbh. I'm always very open-minded, and she can talk to me about everything. I have been a kid as well, so I'm not going to give her a hard time on things I did as well. Hopefully she will always come to me about stuff and only hide small things. Edit. It seems I scared some people. I'm sorry, I should have mentioned it was a heavily censored version, as porn is not allowed on YouTube, so the only thing visible was the girl topless right at the end of the video. So the damage wasn't too bad. I'm sorry I didn't mention this. I just assumed everyone knew that porn isn't allowed on YouTube. I shouldn't make assumptions. And I want to add that I keep a close eye on my daughter's internet usage. She is only interested in YouTube, TikTok. Her account is set to private, and Netflix. I forgot to filter YouTube, even though the stuff on there is never really explicit as it isn't allowed on YouTube. I already filtered all other 18+/explicit websites. YouTube somehow slipped my mind. My son, 17, is a pedo. TBH, I don't really know what to do. I know that he has been watching normal porn years ago when he was younger and didn't know how to wipe browsing history, but I recently found out of his new interest. He has been always a good and kind kid. He treats his younger brothers very well and even takes on quite a bit of responsibility in house chores and stuff. He was never disappointing in his grades, has friends, just with a bit of unhealthy time spent on video games and anime. I just found out about his fetish yesterday when the house internet has been super slow, and it has been so for about the past 2 days. He keeps his PC on in his room for the whole day, and I decided to check if it was because of him. I snooped around and found uTorrent running and opened up to find tons of torrents with Japanese characters with a smidgen of English here and there. I opened it up to find out that he has torrents of tens of gigabytes of lolly hentai. Basically, erotic comics of young girls. But still, why in the world would he suddenly download so much of that crap? I wanted to scream out loud in disbelief and disgust. I can't believe what he has been doing all this while. I ended up leaving his computer alone the way I found it. I wanted to bring the topic up last night after dinner, but I chickened out. What do I even say? Should I be angry? Should I try to change his fetish? I was thinking of getting him to delete everything and get him to talk to a counselor, but I'm not sure if I want this, as it may make matters worse. What if the counselor calls the police on him? I don't think he would actually act out his interests in real life, as it doesn't seem to be part of his character, but you never know still. Like those serial killers who totally seemed normal but are sadistic and fucked up inside. I told my wife, but she is also totally lost and unsure what to do. Honestly, I just wish I never found out about this, but it would be a failure on my part as a parent to ignore this. My wife was emptying the trash in the downstairs bathroom the other day and noticed that it smelled a little off. So, I cleaned out the can and sprayed it down with a lovely citrusy disinfectant. The next week, I noticed the same smell the moment I entered the bathroom. However, when I turned the can over to empty the contents, there was a generous amount of foul-smelling amber liquid in addition to the usual tissues and empty toilet paper rolls. It didn't take long to identify this mystery liquid. It was old urine. The only suspect was my son, as the wife and I both use the bathroom in the master bedroom exclusively. We set up a sting operation. We both sat quietly in the living room pretending to watch the TV when the boy arrived home after school. After the usual greeting, he slipped past us as he usually does and went straight to the scene of the crime. Since we were listening this time, we could hear him locking the door as carefully as he could. That was the moment we both knew for sure that our son was up to something odd. The bathroom door is easily unlocked with a toothpick. In one quick motion, I picked the lock, turned the knob, and swung open the door to reveal the boy responsible for carrying on my family name, my one and only child, and the fruit of my loins, with his ass fully exposed and his pants around his ankles, pissing right into the trash can. My wife took one look and left the room. I stood there with a blank expression as he turned around in shock and scrambled to pull up his pants. He sat on the toilet and put his head in his hand, refusing to acknowledge my existence. "Son," was all I could say. It wouldn't be until the next day that he finally spoke to me. He said that it made him feel good for some reason he couldn't explain. Like, all tingly down there. I told him that he could piss outside all he wanted, but that he wasn't allowed to piss on anything inside the house besides the toilet. Not a parent, but I have a story of my brother trying to hide something from my mother. Long story, but a goodie, and involves repeated uses of words rug, fire, and why. As a kid, my brother was unreasonably into chemicals and combining shit. He wanted to learn how to make thermite because the internet existed long enough where that shit was available for him to learn about and purchase, but not long enough for two immigrant parents to figure out good parental monitoring of your kids' internet habits. By the time my family asked me about it, it was way too late and my brother had already combined the materials. Thankfully he failed in a non-toxic, non-harmful way, but he managed to somehow take a canister of weird looking harmless substance and turn it into a story I retell all the time. You see, my brother is a charismatic little fuck, but 14-year-old him had very little common sense. I always mitigated this by being the voice of reason. Don't light a fire in the house. Don't touch the red hot thing. Fumes belong outside, not in. No, licking the potentially poisonous thing is probably the worst idea. I couldn't stop his pure lack of survival skills, but I could at least redirect him, so I didn't need to explain burns, bruises, or lost limbs to my parents. So when he combined said thermite and, for some godforsaken reason, kept the canister of failed materials, I asked him what he was planning on doing with it. His answer was, I'll burn it off one day. Okay, but just find a place outside that won't catch fire. You know, like not grass. Okay. Stop worrying, it'll be fine. One weekend as I'm casually making bagel bites in the toaster oven, I smell smoke. I sniff the toaster oven. Nope, not that. Did mom put something in the oven and forgot about it before she left the house? Weird, that doesn't sound like her at all. Nope, not that. Is there a burner on? Nope, that isn't either. Oh crap. I realize upon hearing my little brother's string of mixed English and Korean swear words that the smoke is coming from his room. I walk over to the hall just in time to see him sprinting back and forth between the bedroom and bathroom with a bucket in hand, a plume of smoke billowing from his bedroom door. Dude, are you serious right now? What is happening? Shut up, I just need water. What is going on? Why is there smoke? The rug caught fire. Shut up. Why is the rug on fire? Holy shit, you are so lucky mom isn't home. I stepped into the bedroom to find a smoldering circle on his bedroom carpet about 1.5 feet in diameter. The surrounding area was sopping wet. The room still smelled of smoke and melted plastic as my brother opened his bedroom window, grabbed the box fan, and scrambled out to the laundry room to grab the rags. You didn't answer why the rug was on fire. I set the canister on fire. Are you serious? It would have been fine if I got the lid on properly. You set it on fire inside the house. Shut up. It would have been fine if I got the lid on it. But you didn't. So via basic logic it's not fine, now is it? But it would have been fine if I got the lid on there on time. But it isn't. This isn't a difficult concept to grasp. It would have been fine. Shut up. Nope. That's it. Have fun hiding this one from mom. I'm not telling her because I'm not dealing with the hellfire that's going to be, but I'm not helping you out of this one. I stormed out of the bedroom and went back to my bagel bites because, unlike my younger brother, I don't generally start fires that are easily avoidable with common sense. He spent the next half hour wringing out rags and brainstorming how to hide his shenanigans from our parents. The winning solution was to toss his throw rug over the carpet and wait for judgment. Thank you so much for watching. Please like and subscribe the channel.